When working with date information, sometimes you need to calculate dates into the future and from the past. For example, in column A here, we have some starting dates. We want to calculate the third anniversary. Now, third anniversary might mean years, it might mean months, but either way, a function called EDATE will allow us to handle this. Equal EDATE, left parenthesis. Our starting date in this case is cell A2, comma. The 3-month anniversary, we'll simply put in a 3, will be the 15th of October. And quick double click here to copy these down the column, and we see what's happening in all cases. So we don't have to worry about the actual number of days because that varies, but this simply says 3 months out using the same day. And what might happen here if, for example, one of these dates, and I'll change one of them on purpose here. Let me pick a date here where it does cross into months that don't have 31 days. We'll use the one right here. Change this to be a 31. And of course, there is no 31st of April, so as you might expect here, we do get the 30th of April. So EDATE 3 here, meaning 3 months, but in that one case, which is different than the others, we do see what's happening there. There is another function related to EDATE called EOMONTH, meaning end of month. Look at the information in column D. Perhaps these represent starting dates for employees within an organization, and maybe once they've been there for 3 or 4 months, a report is due on their progress. And we want that report to be due at the end of the month after so many months. So in the example right here, there's a function already in place that says EOMONTH, and the starting date is September 20th of 2010. 2 months out would be November 20th, but we're using EOMONTH to come up with the end of the month in that November date. And you can quickly see what the others are likely to be. I'll double click to copy this down the column. The EOMONTH function. We can use this in other ways too that perhaps aren't so obvious. There could be times in a given worksheet where you need to know the last day of this month, and you might want to have it be dynamic. So what if you have some data and you need to always have available in a certain cell data like what we're seeing here? How do we get that into place? Equal EOMONTH. Now, what is the start date? It's today, the function today. I'm doing this in mid-July of 2010. And I don't want to know the end of the next month or the previous month. I want to know the end of this month. So I put in 0 and a right parenthesis here. So now that's going to work throughout the month of July 2010. It's always going to come up with this result. And similarly, you could say, well, I want to know the first day of the next month. If this gives us the last day of the current month, why don't we alter this formula? And remember, it's always going to give us the last day, but if we add 1 to it, it's always going to take us into the next month. So here's a formula here that will always show us the first day of the next month. And of course, that's a dynamic entry. It will change as you open and close this file. We can also use EOMONTH with a negative entry as well. We want to know the last billing date, which happens to be the last day of the last month. So let's alter this again and use a -1 here. Let's go back in time. The last day of last month. Now again, I'm in July 2010 as I record this, so this is June 30th of 2010. And you can also imagine the follow-up. Sometimes you want an entry in a given cell that's always the first day of the current month. Well, if this gives us the last day of the previous month, let's simply add 1 to this. And we've got that capability as well. So you can see different creative ways to be using this function called EOMONTH. Remember also its companion EDATE, which simply calculates a number of months typically into the future, but also even into the past. Going back here just for a moment, if I put in a -3, we can show when was 3 months prior to this entry. Of course, that's going to be April, as we see it there. So different ways to use these two functions, and don't overlook the use of negatives, which are just as valuable in some situations.